Tonight, there's a very important meeting that I'd love you to show up to, especially if you live in the canyons. I'm on Crow Canyon Road, and if you live out the canyons, any of the canyons in Castro Valley, or know someone who does, make sure they know about this meeting tonight. It's at 6 o'clock at the Castro Valley Library. Right now, I'm on Crow Canyon Road. This is coming from the boulevard, and that's going out to Dublin. But this is what we're going to talk about here. I've been trying for a very long time to find out what our evacuation plan is for Castro Valley. So when this subject came up, I was very passionate about it. Unless you live out the canyons, do you know what these people go through? I'm probably going to say this wrong, but there was a point, if you went down Crow Canyon Road, there was signs where the people who lived there wanted East Bay Mud water, or I don't remember who it was, to include them with the sewage lines. I can't remember what it was, so forgive me for not having those details. But trust me, I try to get people to talk about this. So lines were made all the way down the canyon. I believe it was for sewage, but they did not include allowing the residents to tap into it. Now, all up in the mountains along the canyons, we share the canyons with Dublin, which was a huge fire just a few days ago. And if you look in my history recently, there was a fire close to another canyon that I was really worried about, because in this particular canyon, there's two ways that goes in and out. But in these canyons, there's none. So now we're going to go down Crow Canyon Road. Across the street in front of the fire department is this sign where you can learn about being ready. Is your home ready? Also, if you remember, this Crow Canyon was blocked off because of flooding. Above me are homes over here, over there. There's the Crow Canyon Lake right there. And I believe this is probably the last fire hydrant, but it doesn't look like a fire hydrant. It's not red. I think this is the last fire hydrant, or whatever it is, that before you start going down Crow Canyon. There's definitely got to be fire hydrants up there in Green Ridge and sewage. But once you get past this area, going down Crow Canyon, there's no sewage that I know of, and there's no water. That they get it from the groundwater. And I know a family who's near the end, and he said that they get 5,000 gallons every 10 days for water for 6 people home and 2 horses. As I said before, when we saw the freeway, it's very scary to know that once you get past Green Ridge, there's no exit except coming out this way. So if there was a fire on either side of the hill, they would be locked into the canyon. And that's why they don't allow big development down there. Now, I don't know what this is for, but there's a reason why they don't have 38-foot vehicles go past this. So this is pretty maintained for the area, but you'll see as we go in, it's not necessarily. If you notice, the lines above here are pretty low. I'm always curious how they go across the road and they're so low, but vehicles aren't supposed to be down here that are tall. It's beautiful though, but this is one of the problems right here. So now I'm in the middle of the riverbed, and as you can see, there's no water. Not even a drop. But you can tell by this tree that it has flown well enough to knock the tree over, or however it went. But yes, this has been overflown before. So where I was last at, before I went down Cull Canyon, C-U-L-L Canyon, this is how the people here get the water, from the groundwater. And as you can see, there's no water here, but if you were to dig deeper, you most likely would find a little water. Little hiking tip: if you're in the desert, dig deep and see if you can get some water. But in the meantime, there's just none at the very end. They want to put a campsite for kids, which is awesome, for 150 people. However, they're making a campus that can house 500 people. So now the people who live here, who rely on the groundwater or have to truck it in, are going to have to share that with people who actually live here. Now, Alameda County Fire Department and CAL FIRE is so badass that they got that fire under containment before it reached the homes in Castro Valley, but that was the freeway. So if that happened here, this is where they would have to get their water, and this is how they would have to come in, and the only way out. And look how low these wires that go over the road are. Okay, let's talk about sewage. So all these people that live out here have to have septic tanks. And I believe at a certain point that there's semi-clean water that comes out of them that has to leach out onto the ground. In that case, where they're going to put the property is right next to the riverbed. So if there is flowing water, there's a potential overflow problem into that. On one side of the property, and on the other side of the property is agricultural. I can't say it right, but agricultural. Now, human or animal waste into the food we eat is how Ebola happens. I do know places what they're proposing to do, but there's more safety features for fire, exiting, and whatnot. Did you know that the tallest building in Dubai has no infrastructure for sewage? Okay. They're going to have school buses come through here. It's very dangerous. All right, I don't feel safe here. My friend that lives in Dubai says they have trucks lined up blocking traffic so that they can pull the sewage out of the biggest building in Dubai. So if you don't have infrastructure, you have problems. The other thing she said is that I never heard of seeding. I thought that sounds really cool. So seed the sky when we have a fire. But they don't have infrastructure for the water that they create from it. So they flood homes and businesses, and Dubai actually pays for it. If you don't believe me, look at those two subjects. So when they do have it, they're going to have a lot of this. You have to go off the road. So we're coming up onto the property. See the horse right there? This is the property they want to put a gigantic campus. Whoever drew it probably never stepped foot on it. This is right next door agriculture that is already there. And this over here is where the property is. There's the winery. So this is a dry winery. Where that tall tree is right there, that's where the riverbed, all the way down that way, and it goes all the way to the winery. I was at the winery Saturday, and my mom left a message at 1 o'clock. It wasn't until 4:30 that I came back out that I got the message, and that is a huge problem living out the canyons. Most of them wouldn't know there was a fire until they seen smoke, because their phones don't always work. They say that it's going to be for 150 kids, where my friend, 6 people, use 5,000 gallons every 10 days. You need to show up to the meeting so you can listen to what they have to say. I'm going to be there because I want to learn more. I love what the organization represents, but I don't know this is the best place for it.